Your kids remember two things about you. One, how you make them feel, and then two, what you taught them about life. A lot of us feel, there's a disconnect. So this is where you're at right now. It's my famous drawings. And here's the gap. This is the gap right here. And so this was me actually. This was actually me. I realized that it wasn't really my effort, because I was doing everything I could for them, you know, being the situation the way it was. You know what I mean? So I had to learn something new. I had to learn a different code because this is literally how I was feeling. See, currently, this is how I wanted to feel. So this is where I'm at right now, right? In this current situation, this current moment. Can even date this to 2014. I just put up to. So up till this date, I was feeling like this, and I didn't even know what the hell was going on. What I realized though is after I split up with my kid's mom, I would call them, to check up on them, and I had conditioned them just to, instead of calling and checking them, checking in how their day went, or how was baseball, like what position did you play? Did you play outfield, infield, pitcher? What did you play? Instead of asking them these kind of questions, my first thing was, before I didn't know, was like, hey, what did you need? Like, do you need anything? Is there anything I can do for you? Like, cause I was working out of town. I lived in South Texas and I was working in Louisiana. So by doing that though, what I was doing was I was conditioning them to whenever I called them, just literally calling and checking on them. Instead of checking in though, their idea of a check-in at this point, 2014, was like, okay, well, what do I need? So every time I called, instead of checking to see like how they were doing, they already knew like, hey, well, what do I need? Do I need anything? Do I tell them anything that I need? And that's a problem, right? So I didn't realize it though until after me and my kid's mom had split up. So my phone calls really were like transactions. I was no longer like the father. I was just a provider. So the first thing I had to do was change who I was being. So I call this the embodiment phase. Let me write in green. First thing, embody. It's basically like, who do you want to become? Do you want to stay the provider? Do you want to be the father? Whenever I was there with them, I would be on the phone, and it wasn't like I didn't have no social media. But what I was doing though was I was actually running a bunch of businesses, and they were actually my businesses. And so when I was there, my body was there at the house, but mentally I was checked out. So it got to the point to where the kids saw me on the phone and they knew not to just bother me because they knew I was working. So with that being said, I made a rule, and you haven't guessed by now. The first rule was, remember, who do you want to be? The first rule was no phone when I'm with my family. We're looking at. And then first, no phone when I'm with my family. So what I started doing was, whenever I was with my family, I stopped being on the phone. I made it a rule. So I would just put my phone on silent. I literally just put it somewhere it wasn't even around me. And if anybody needed something that was like close to me, for some reason, they needed something, they knew how to get a hold of me. And their phone numbers could actually go through I programmed it. I got an iPhone. So I programmed it in silent mode. And then I let a couple of contacts, more specifically two, important contacts. If anybody need anything, they can just get through, call me. They can get through. So the second thing I had to do, I had to embody wisdom. What does this mean? What does this mean, Miles? Well, whenever my son, for example, he would ask me for a Coke, I would just tell him no. I wasn't drinking any Cokes. Like, why would you even ask me? I was just in my head, why would he even ask me for a Coke? He knows I'm not drinking them. What are the odds? Like, I'm gonna let him drink a Coke. Like, if I don't even put it in my body, I wouldn't want him to put it in his. But what ended up happening was every time he asked me for a soda or for a snack or something, I would tell him no, and I could see it in his eyes. Like just disappointment. Like, this dude doesn't want me to eat anything. He doesn't want me to have any fun. He doesn't want me to have no sodas. He just because he has a completely different lifestyle whenever he's at his mom's house. So whenever he would come over here to my house, I wouldn't have no sodas. I wouldn't have none of that stuff. And so what I started doing was I was like, man, how can I make it to where the decision's his and he still makes the right one? So what I started doing was I taught him literally how to think. More specifically, when it comes to sodas. So when he asks me for a Coke now, like right now, like till this day, he asks me for a soda or a Coke, he'll call me, and even though I'm out of state, he'll call me during a baseball game, and he'll say, hey Dad, can I get a drink, from the stand or whatever. And now I'll tell him, hey, you can get as many as you want. You can drink a whole 12-pack if you want. But guess what? Just know, whenever you drink that one Coke, that home run you just hit is going to slow you down. Whenever you drink the Coke, you're not going to be able to hit a home run no more. You're not going to be able to run as fast no more. You're not going to be able to make a perfect slide to second base. That one soda might cost you a couple of seconds of speed. So if you want to do that, hey, that's on you. Go have a 12-pack. So I said, hey, but yeah, do what you want. So do you want to run slower is what you really need to ask yourself. And he was like, no, I don't want to run slower. Like, nah, I'm not going to get a Coke. Nah, I'm trying to get a water or whatever, anything besides a Coke. So that's the second thing. So you can, but this thing is a game changer because you can do this with just about anything. And so now I'm not the bad guy. And it feels really great. Kids are super healthy right now. I had Pacific son. He's running every day right now. It's during summer right now. He's still strict the way he eats and working out and stuff. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, but it takes a long time. This thing doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen just right away. It took me a couple of years to figure this whole stuff out first, but then to even like condition them back to, back to the embodiment of where I want it to be. All right, so the third thing, basically connection. So going back to the original point was whenever I called them and they were like, hey, what do I need? Like, just provider. I wanted to build a stronger bond with them. And I was listening to this audiobook one time. I can't remember the name of it. It could have been a podcast. And the lady was saying, it was a woman getting interviewed, and she was saying that if you ever want to hear something, like if you want to hear what somebody has to say, like what's on their mind, like she was doing this with her daughter because she was having the same problem. She said what she would do is whenever they got home from school, she would tell her daughter like, hey, come help me cook. Like, you want to help me cook? And she would go to the kitchen. They would start cutting up everything. And the mom wouldn't say anything while they were making stuff. I guess the daughter felt so awkward, like, because it's just silence, that she started talking. Literally, she started talking about her day, how it went. And so I was like, man, that's a pretty good idea. Like, it won't hurt. So what I started doing was I started taking them to the park. I took them to the park. So let's say Um, create a safe space to talk. So I started taking them to the park. I got 4 kids, and what I would do is I would put everybody on the swing. I would just go and just be pushing everybody. I was busy, like indirectly. I couldn't really talk to every single kid, So I was busy. But what ended up happening was now when we go to the park, they just open up. Like it got to the point to where I pick them up sometimes and they have a lot of going on. Like they won't tell me over the phone, but if I go pick them up, they'll tell me like, "Hey, Dad, we gotta have a talk." And all of them are the same boat. They're like laughing and yeah, we do gotta talk. We have to talk. We have to say this. We have to say that. And so I'll tell them like, okay, let's go to the park. So I go to the park. Same thing. So I anchored the park as a safe place. Not just a safe place, but a safe space to talk, judgment free. And then if I want one-on-ones with them, what I'll do is I'll get one like on a swing or a slide, and the other ones will be playing together. And I'll just tell them like, hey, we're gonna go over here. I'm gonna hang out with her for a little bit. I'm gonna hang out with him for a little bit, and they already know because everybody gets like that time from me at the park. It's not just like an all thing. It's not just I don't just spend time with all of them. They just tell me everything in front of everybody. They kind of gotta have their own space. The park really works great for me. Figure out what it is that works for you. But this was a real big game changer because I just taking them to the park. It uncovered a bunch of stuff that I didn't even know what was going on, like about like at their school with their friends, stuff that they were talking about, stuff their friends were getting into, and until this day, none of the kids know like what we talked about because it's just between me and them. And so I created a safe space, and it took a lot of like trips to go to the park and build up that trust. So whenever you first take them somewhere, or you first go do this thing, just understanding, especially like the where I messed up a long time ago, was my son told me something when he was a kid, like small, and I went and corrected what he had told me, and yeah, he ended up getting in trouble. Maybe not in trouble, but I guess he felt embarrassed that I had said what he was talking about, and he kind of shut me out for a long time, and yeah, that sucked. So I won't make that mistake again, and so that's why this one right here is way more better. So to wrap it up, the conclusion. This is the payoff. See, I'm gonna put old and then new. Whenever I would take my kids on a trip, we go on a trip, just me and them. Since I hadn't done any of these things, it was kind of just still in that provider state. So the old way, this is a provider, and this is a father. So the old way, what ended up happening was they would argue. They were distracted. You know what? I'm gonna put phone. They were distracted on their phones. It was like no communication. It was a mess, honestly, and it was real hard. It was real hard because everybody was in their own world. Now fast forward to like just recently, last month. This has been going on for a while, but like it just reminds me of how much of an impact that we've had every time we go on a trip. So last month I took them with me to San Antonio. We went together, just me and the kids. I rented an Airbnb out there, and so the old way. This is in 2014 through 2016. This new way right here. There was no arguing. I probably spelled that wrong. No phones. Man, I know this doesn't sound crazy, but we ate together. Like, why would you put that there? The reason why I say that is because before, everybody would eat separate. Like, they would go to the rooms, grab the food, go to the rooms. Before, and it's because I wasn't really present. You know, I wasn't really there with them. I was just being there, just literally providing. And just keep in mind, I had no idea this was going on. You know, because I wasn't even like, I wasn't. You were not. I wasn't taught this. I wasn't taught this. So this is not like not an excuse. It's just like the truth. I didn't even know, what was going on. So, but now though, now that I know how to build a connection, now I know about how to teach them, and then the person I want to be whenever I'm with them at all times. We ate together in San Antonio. Well, I should put we eat together. And we pray together. We just have so much fun together now. And we spend a whole week. Normally you go out on vacation and stuff. And like we'll go do stuff, go take trips. Like we'll rent the Airbnb just to sleep there. This time I went out and we just stayed there the whole time. We went swimming and we went to the bookstore. It was crazy. I mean, like I wish you were there. It was like just to even like I wish you would get to your family gets to experience like just at least one time what I experienced this past time that I went out with them. This was like last month or like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it was incredible because the bond in between like them, the disconnect from where they were at before I picked them up to where they're at now. When I dropped them off or during this time, like they were. It, let me tell you like how much of an impact this was. There's 4 kids. Everybody always wants to do something different. Before, everybody wants to eat something different. Everybody wants to do something different. When I talk to them, I'll tell them like, hey, this is what we're gonna eat. You know, this is what I want to do this week. Like I want to do this, and that. This is what we're gonna do. Does anybody have like, do y'all want to do anything or whatever? And they'll tell me, well, I want to go to the bookstore. I want to go swimming, this and that. And so, to give you an example, though, my son, one of them, he didn't want to go swimming. The other 3 kids did. And it was funny because I was going to suggest this, but I didn't say anything. And my daughter was like, hey, well, look, tell him, like, ask him what he wants to do. We'll go do what he wants to do, and then we'll go swimming after. And so that's what we did. Everybody was happy. We just went to the bookstore, and yeah, we spent like 2 hours together, and then we went swimming. But like the impact on, I can express the impact it's had just over that last week. Like they found out just different things about themselves. Like when it comes to music, when we pray together, we're reading the Bible, and I'm not saying you have to read the Bible or anything. But what I am saying though is it's a pretty good way to like bring everybody together. But if you are gonna teach them about the Bible, here's a pro tip. What worked for me, the first day it didn't work. Well, no, it was just 2 days. Because the first day I kind of gave them an overview of what the Bible was. We didn't even open the Bible. And yeah, it was pretty awesome. The first day I just basically told them, the timeline. Like we're in the year 2025. This happened before. We had AC, we had BC. Like some little nerdy stuff, but it was pretty cool because it was different. And but the pro tip is this. What really changed whenever I was with them is I would read not a whole chapter, but I'd read like a section, and then we'd go in a circle. We'd read. And then after one person read, I would ask, like, hey, well, what did y'all get from there? And they said, oh, I think this is what it meant. And well, I'll tell them, like, hey, well, how can you use that in your life? Like, how can you use that at school? How can you use that at home? And, but this is like it might sound weird because at first I was never doing this. So this would have been, if I would have been hearing myself right now around 2014 and 16, I'd have been like, that's nuts, bro. Like, I'm not gonna do all that. That's like way too much. But over time, this is the product that it's come down to. So it's pretty cool. And yeah, the reason why I say this last trip is because I'm actually working out of town right now. So kind of like in the same position I was in the beginning. When I first started even looking at this, I was working out of town. But now our bonds are completely different. As a matter of fact, between recording these videos, I'm messaging my daughter right now. She's asking me questions about different things. It's pretty cool. So when you walk through that door tonight, don't ask yourself, what do I need to do for my kids? Ask yourself, who do I need to embody? Or who do I need to become for my kids right now? Because when you get that right, the building starts building itself. And the impact you leave, now that lasts forever. Embody the father you want to be, and the rest will follow.